I think I can record. Okay, so it's okay. It's okay. Let me just record from here. So, sorry, apologies for that. My network, I don't understand why it is behaving this way. Today it hasn't rained, and yesterday it behaved when it rained. So, please, can we continue with the presentation?
Doctor, welcome back online. I'd not realized, actually, our group didn't realize that you had gone off, and the presentation continued.
Okay, it's okay.
And
yes.
We just had. Can you hear me, Doctor?
Yes, I can hear you. Please continue.
So maybe you will guide us, because the presentation continued and the members were like, we took a lot of time. I don't know whether we should stop. I mean, whether we should start where you went off from, or you can guide us, Doctor.
No, it's okay. I think I got the gist of your presentation. Thank you for the good work, first of all. But one of the things I wanted to know, one of the things I recognized with your research problem, you essentially pointed out an organizational problem, not a research problem. When we, if you look at the paper, their research problem is somewhere embedded in their especially in the introduction, when they talk about previous research. They say previous research had focused on laboratory experiments, which gave a precise answer of the effectiveness of lotus, but did not give the realistic answer of other things that do affect its effectiveness. That was the primary issue. It wasn't necessarily that the organization was suffering from using manual systems. It was because previous research did not bring out the reality of an organizational setting. And that's essentially why the project failed in the end. Just to bring out that small bit. But let's move to the next group. But you still did a good job. I think it was well done. It was thorough. So thank you for that. Can we just have the next group? I think it is group I.
Thank you, Doctor. I am Winfred Mulera, moderating for group I. We two are going to kind of share, but ours is going to be a little bit not as elaborate, because we try to make sure we are within the time and we had to squeeze it. So the group members are as those ones seen, Doctor.
Okay.
We are in a group of myself. Let me first have the members. Gertrude. Then there is Muhechi Mukama, Sarah Ahura, and then Gertrude Nampera and Ronald Kato. Now let's go to, you can move the slide. As a group, Doctor, we chose to take up this question, or this article, not a question. We selected an article of ICT Green Alignment, Green Generation Model based on corporate social responsibility and Green IT. And the authors are already there according to the article. Go to the first question. They wanted us to identify the research area. The research area of the article. According to this article, such area was ICT alignment, which considers the integration of green IT and corporate social responsibility, CSR, into IT strategies. This provides a theoretical tool for designing renewed managerial strategies for sustainable development, SD, hence creating sustainable business models. Maybe to speak briefly about gist of the matter, I look at the basics from the research area, Madam. I wish to talk about what is green IT and then the corporate social responsibility as it is. Now, green IT refers to the practices, all the practices that ICT, I want to explain it to me, that all the practices that are involved in ensuring that the IT that is being used has a sustainable impact on the environment. We want to see a situation where, much as ICT is anonymous, new innovations are coming on, the fact should remain that it shouldn't affect the environment. So green IT is basically practices that are involved in either manufacturing, implementation, designs of the infrastructure of ICT. Then the corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility is just a way. It is in a way that organizations have a task to ensure that what they're doing must be in alignment with the sustainability of the environment. They must take up the mantle to ensure that the environment is safe and clean. So basically, that was the research area, Doctor. And being the moderator, I'll call in my colleagues, my other colleague, Gertrude, to talk about question 2.
Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Winfred, for that. And as a group, we also tackled the research problem as the question was, and we found out that the research problem of this article was the absence of an ICT alignment model that incorporates both corporate social responsibility and green IT concepts. Now, at first, we already have an existing model that the strategic alignment model, but we found out that its coherence was basically on 4 fundamental areas of management, and that was business, market competences, ICT strategy, choices of governance, ICT and governance, then infrastructure and organizational process, and ICT infrastructure processes. But it excluded the social and environmental aspects, and this is that is where this new proposed model of ICT green alignment came about. So the problem was ICT alignment model that incorporates both corporate social responsibility and green IT concepts. Thank you.
Thank you, Gertrude, for that. Let's have Ron for the other part. Research methods. Let's talk about the
Thank you very
research
much,
method.
members. On the research method, the question about the research method, it was the theoretical model. The scientists presented that ICT green alignment concept. This is a paradigm that integrates the idea of CRIS, that's the corporate social responsibility, and green IT to solve the social and environmental problems within the ICT management. Now, in this case, like my kind of work, we have what we call network transmission stations across the country. So we had a challenge of power outages. We had to install what we call solar. Those are the panels, the battery banks, and the inverters at the
Hello, Ronald. Doctor, are we audible?
Yes, you're audible. I think Ronald has a network issue.
I think we have lost Ronald. Let Muhechi come in. Muhechi, I think where you are, the network is very good. Please help us on that number 3 and explain. Ronald was explaining, but the network is on and off. Muhechi, come in, please. Hello, members.
Winfred, we can hear you.
Okay, let me talk about the research methods, like
Okay,
Ronald was
please.
explaining.
Mm.
Now, doctor, according to us, even the article, for us, we looked at it as a theoretical model. The scientists presented the green alignment concept. This program integrates the idea of CRC and green IT to solve the social and environmental problems in ICT management. The authors incorporate sustainability objectives into their enlarged version of Hanson and Vatkanman and Vatkat. The plan calls for adding 3 pillars to the balance ICT strategy, business strategy, and social and environmental strategy. Now, Madam, when you look at the type of article that is being presented to us, we realize that the work is still more of theoretical because we are trying to generate a new generation model. And we are trying to come up with a situation where we can have all the 3 pillars aligned together. Previously, when you look at the SAM model, which is strategic, administrative, and management model, for it, it would look at things in a way that it would only consider ICT strategy vis-a-vis business strategy. Now, here we are saying that there is need that the corporate security and the ICT green alignment be incorporated into the systems. As the business priority is at profit, but how can we make it in a way that much as we need a profit, the environment still? So we looked at it as being theoretical, and I think the next one is the approach. And we say that of the study is conceptual and theoretical, since it develops a new framework based on a previously developed theories and models of ICT, alignment, CSR, and green IT. The idea proposes a way for business to obtain a competitive advantage, but integrating ICT with sustainable practices. So the approach, we looked at it as being conceptual and theoretical. Thank you, Doctor. And we are for more, we need more people to come in, ask any question and guide where you think we need guidance. But as a group, that is what we could present. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Winfred. I think your paper, looking at it, your particular article was, it was basically presenting a model which has been designed, I think, on paper, but not yet been implemented in a case study. And I think they say that at the end. So you're quite right. It was done. This was something theoretical. What we call the first hunch, or the prototype in as an artifact before it has been implemented. So thank you. Thank you, Winfred and team. Thank you, Group I. So I think next was Group, what did I see in the chat? The next group to present, was it Group E?
Group D.
Group D. Group D, yeah, was
D.
after, then Group E
D
will
and
be
E.
after. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, esteemed colleagues. Good morning to you, Dr. Sheba. Let me share my screen. Okay, so we tackled the same question as Group C. That is, we looked at the baseline. We looked at communication in an organization setting. That is a research paper that failed. So let me just, I'm going to be a little, because majority of the things have been addressed. So the research areas, we found that there were quite a number of research areas, and the first being communication in organizational development. So organizational development on a broader perspective, but narrowing down on communication. Then the use of information technologies in communication and technology management in general. So the research problem, we formulated it as such, that how can information technology tools be effectively implemented to improve communication and collaboration within a senior management team. I think I had Doctor, you commented on the presentation of the Group C, saying that they had they were looking at a broad perspective of an organization. So it's not that there has been any amendments, but so for us, we are saying within a senior management team. So still, given that there's a group that has presented on this, they also spoke about the action research as the research method. Sorry. All right. So the research has used an action research method, as stated in the title. And basically, what an action research is just as the word states, that it is research with an action. That is to say, the researchers, they are simultaneously generating knowledge while they intervene in the organization, or rather in the while they intervene in the process that they are looking at. It enables to intervene in the organization while simultaneously generating knowledge about the process. And just as the former group said, they use the Sussman and Everest cycle with the 5 stages, which still have been spoken about. But let me perhaps give our end of that. So the first stage is diagonizing, that is identifying or defining the problem. And then you go on to action planning. That is to say, we consider the alternative course of action for solving the problem established. After establishing the problem, then we come up with a plan. Then we do the action taking, selecting which of the course of action to take. Then the evaluation, that is to say, studying the consequences of an action taken. That is, you're also looking at the impact of the interventions that you have been spearheading or that you've been intervening in, and finally specifying the learning, that is identifying the general findings, just as any research would be. Then, so for us, I think what perhaps, Dr. which you can guide us on, is when you asked, you said research method or research approach. So we may be guided here, but we broke it down a bit to say that the method used was action research, and then the approach was that the researchers at the evaluation stage employed the qualitative approach through the collection of views and perspectives of the PAs and the senior managers through the FGDs. Ideally, what we are saying is that they use the qualitative approach.
Yes.
And among the tools, yes, they used they used the collection of views, that is interactions or interviews, and then the focus group discussions. And I believe that is the approach. Then also, rather, those are those are the tools. Then they made observations in the organizational culture and institutional structures. That is to say, there is the collection of data through observation, not necessarily through interaction, or not exactly from asking or interviewing, as much as they use that as well. So they coupled this, but overall they use the qualitative approach while using the action research method.
Yes. Actually,
So-
Brian, just to summarize it, if we look at the research problem or the gap, let's call it the gap, because if we
Okay.
sometimes you say problem, it might mislead the mind. Look at the research gap, which I pointed up for the previous group, where they point out that previous research, as far as groupware applications were concerned, had mainly focused on laboratory experiments, which we have seen already from one of the papers. Laboratory experiments are highly quantitative in nature, and they focus on one quantifiable, or a result that is quantifiable. For example, you want to know, does groupware application improve communication? And a laboratory experiment will definitely show that, where we call them exponential, I forget the word, but any are they I forget the word, exponential variables, any interfering variables will be highly controlled. So
Extraneous.
extraneous, so thank you, extraneous variables are going to be highly controlled, and they will be removed from the equation to show whether this application does bring about improved communication. So now these researchers decide to bring it in a realistic context. And in a realistic context, you're looking for variables that, or you're looking for the behavior of variables that otherwise would not be there. So they had to use a qualitative approach, the overall qualitative approach. Okay. So they had a phenomenologist philosophy, and research philosophy, and they came in with a qualitative approach, a inductive approach. So that was the generic overview. And then now they picked a highly qualitative method. So action research is highly qualitative because it really focuses on observation. Yeah, observation, the reaction of the context, and that's what they did. So the overall approach is qualitative, and with that they employed a qualitative method. So note, even in the research onion, the approach is overarching. It's the one that covers the research method. Okay.
Okay.
So the approach covers the research method. It's the parent. The approach is the parent. The method is the child. If you look at that research onion. So we normally, the approach dictates normally the type of method that you will select.
Sorry, doctor, say that again. You said the approach is the parent, or
Yeah,
the approach is the child?
The approach is the parent, the method is the child. So the approach normally dictates the method that we shall use.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
You're
I
welcome.
think, yes, you mentioned the extraneous variables, the ones that are uncontrollable, and just as
Yes.
the former group mentioned, that ideally, in the phenomenal or the phenomenologically, this groupware should have worked, but the group that presented also spoke about the fact that some of these personal assistants, they started to hog the calendars of the senior management, and even during particular times, the senior management was not entirely happy with the fact that the personal assistants would go ahead and schedule meetings without first indulging them, or rather first finding out from them. So these are what was not present in the laboratory experiment.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so and that was what brought the newness in this research, because it brought out those issues that are going to affect, and probably another research would say, okay, maybe it is in implementation strategy. Can we have some innovation in implementation strategy so that we counteract these underlying organizational politics and structures that will negatively influence? So that could be somebody else's additional research. Thank you.
Yes, I think also we looked at,
Yes,
we
please
was
continue.
trying to look at, sorry?
Please continue.
Yes, we were also looking at some of the technologies that resembled Lotusware, or rather Lotus Notes. And I think at the moment, the closest that comes to that is Office 365, where they use Microsoft Teams. But we see that still, this is the very application that we use. And when you're scheduling, for example, when you're getting a calendar, you have access to a person's calendar. That is to say, as you're scheduling, it would go ahead and alert you if that person is already booked at that time. So I think there was also the politics of this particular organization, because to great extent, even now, we are still using a form of Lotus Notes or a groupware, in which really, I think, of course, because of the times, COVID-19 also facilitated the uptake of Microsoft Teams, that now particular organizations now have work from home policies and have a strict policy on having meetings on Microsoft Teams and not any other application. So there was also those extraneous variables that were particular to this institution, because this was a higher learning institution. It was a university. Just as you said, Doctor, at some point that, for example, the politics of the IT team itself may have also contributed to the failure, as much as even to this day we have these programs working perfectly, right?
Okay. Thank you. Can we have the next group, please? The next group, please. Which is the next group to use?
Thank you. My name is Felix Ocheng.
Okay.
I'll be presenting for Group E. And I request to share my screen. Where is my screen? Let me see this one. Okay, thank you. I hope we can see my screen.
Yes,
So for us in Group E, we were very concise and precise, and we stuck to the assignment, particularly the questions. So like you can see, these are our group members. Originally, we were four: Nicholas, Polycarp, Felix, and Businje Innocent. But Innocent informed us that he dropped out of the course. Very unfortunate. So It is us who adapted the new members, that is Waiswa Herbert and Joan. We are yet to add the name. But like you can see, we focused on this article that looked at trying to improve communication and collaboration with information technology and action research project, which failed. I beg to proceed. For us, straight away, we went to the research area, and our approach, our style of this assignment kind of looked at, we tried to also scrutinize. Yeah, as we were doing the assignment, we tried to scrutinize what the article and these researchers, how they were doing, how they did their article. And so we see, so the article, so we are saying the article in the research area, we are saying the article sought to examine the use of information technology to improve communication and collaboration in organizations. And so this specifically, we felt they focused on groupware with a case study on implementation of Lotus. So we also added by saying the research, we realized that these researchers in this article were motivated by this desire to understand the relationship between the introduction of technology and changes in work habits. And particularly, this was in regards to communication and collaboration. And so this next part of the assignment required us to talk about research problem or question. So group E, so group E, as group E, for us, we focused on the research question. And so we came up with 3 questions as noted from the article, as scrutinized from the article. And our first question was, why did the introduction of a groupware Lotus Notes fail to bring about the expected improvements in communication and collaboration within the senior management team? And our second question was, how is structuration theory useful for understanding the way in which a groupware may or may not improve patterns of communication and collaboration in an organization? And our third question was, how does the radical change in coordination affect the current ways of working by individuals in an organization? So if you see the way we formulated these research questions is based on what the article had presented to us. And these are some of the underlying challenges or problems that we felt the article sought to address as these were affecting the organization. And then the last bit of our assignment looked at the research method and approach. So we must say, as group D, we realized that the research method that was used was action research. And in so doing, we noticed from the article that the researchers active and the action, rather the research method which was used was action research, with the researchers actively participating in the implementation of technology product. And so we went ahead and scrutinized and said, as quoted by the researchers in the article and according to Baskerville and Woodharper, a number of researchers have suggested that action research is a potentially useful method in information systems. And to us, this spells why these researchers in this article used action research. And so we also felt the approach was interpretative, focusing on understanding how participants made sense of and used technology in their work environment. And so, just like other members also noticed who focused on the same article like Group D, the researchers followed a cycle of diagnosing problems, planning actions, implementing course of action, evaluating outcomes, and specifying the lessons learned. And so that is as brief as how for us Group D we approach this assignment. And we said in conclusion that we realized that the combination of action research and an interpretative approach allowed the researchers to explore the outcomes of the technology implementation, and in so doing, they highlighted the importance of understanding the social and organizational factors for successful implementation of new technologies. We were as brief as that. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. Thank you for time management. I appreciate that. I think most of the comments you had from the previous, so we'll keep it at that. Eh?
Yes,
Thank can we have the next group, please? We have another group. Is there another group? Is that it?
Doctor, maybe Dennis can guide us on whether every group has already presented.
Because we've had Group H, Group B, Group A, Group, I think after Group A, there was Group I, then C. I don't know what other group. How many are those? Group is H, B, A, E, C, I. Those are 6 or 7 we've had. Dennis, can you guide us?
Doctor, on my list, I don't see, I'm not sure whether Group H presented and Group J.
Okay. Wasn't Group H the first? Teresa's group was
we were the first.
Yeah, Group H was the first.
Oh, yes, Teresa, yes, they were the first.
Group
Then
D
J?
is there.
Group D has presented, eh? So, Dennis, it's Group J that hasn't presented.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, Group J.
Group J. So, do we have Group J?
Doctor, looking at my list, I think members of Group J haven't been active. Our different engagements, I'm not sure whether actually they are part of us.
Okay.
As we talk.
Okay, then we can assume they may not be here. But everyone, all those who have presented, I'm assuming you have uploaded your group assignment, eh?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Okay. May I suggest that we can we have another lecture on Wednesday, just to be sure that we cover up all our content? Is it okay if we have another Wednesday lecture?
It's fine, Doctor, on the same time.
Okay. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's have Wednesday lecture so that we can finish research problem identification, and then we move to research questions. If we can cover those on Wednesday. But don't worry so much about your final exam. It's a take home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Doctor, that was our worry. We wanted to understand how our exam will be.
Yeah, it's a take home because it's concept paper writing.
Oh, concept paper.
Yeah,
Okay.
your second group assignment you will write a concept paper as a group and present it. So hopefully this will prepare you to do your individual group assignment.
Okay. The individual group assignment is what will be the exam in the exam, right?
Yeah, the individual assignment of concept paper writing will be the final assessment.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Yes.
That is great.
Okay. Okay, so may I suggest
So,
we end? So yes, please. Any other question?
yes, Doctor. I would like you to comment on the overall presentation for this work. Yes, worked on different papers, but any advice that you would like to give us, having
Well-
looked at how each has presented, the content presented, and
Okay.
yeah, all that.
Okay. Now we shall. Okay. One is, first of all, is to commend all of you for making an effort. That is one. You had two different perspectives, those with ICT and those with IS. The ICT, if you notice with our ICT group, the ICT management is a relatively new area. So not a lot of research has been done there. IS is a more mature field. That's what I would say. That's why you're able to find a great deal of content in terms of previous research that has been done. So if you see the two articles that were given as samples, they had very, very concrete, really concrete previous research that had been done. One of the things I want to note is that when I'm teaching, I realize we are transitioning from undergraduate to postgraduate, and we still have that little bit of mentality that we are as ICT we're coming in to solve world problems, the manual systems, and so on and so forth. So sometimes we may miss to actually identify the research problem. That's the thing I wanted to emphasize. But I understand we are transitioning, so that doesn't, it's really not going to affect you much. The point is for us to transition together to come into research in its proper essence, in its real essence. So that one you can still see a little bit in that content, in the way you presented, especially those who are doing the action research paper, to actually point out the fact that we are looking for a research problem. So most of you missed that point where the authors point out the previous research. The previous research focused on laboratory. So the newness of the research, you remember, research is about bringing new knowledge. So what was their new knowledge? It wasn't changing from manual to or digital or automated. It was bringing Lotus into a realistic environment and exploring those elements within the new context that affect its proper for it to work effectively. So that is one. That's what I would bring about for the IS side. For ICT, I wanted you to know. You notice most of the work was theoretical. They are bringing new innovations, but we haven't had proper evaluation to see whether they actually work or that they don't work. So you find new innovations that are being brought. For example, a framework in the first article, and the second one was a model. But we haven't had proper evaluation or proper reporting to find out whether these things work or do they not work, or rather, it's basically new innovations, but we haven't yet explored. Yeah, that's what we note. And most of the time, And this is what we shall find with ICT research, because these are new innovations, new frameworks that are new artifacts that are being introduced. But we really haven't had proper evaluation to find out, do they work or do they not work? Are they effective or not? What needs to change about these new innovations? So that is what I want to comment about this research, about your content. But all of you, I want to commend you. I think you're positively moving towards research in its proper essence. That's what I want to comment about. You're positively moving there. That is one. Two, I hope you also recognize the concepts we're talking about, research approach. Some of the things I want to point out. We'll go back to the research onion and notice which is the outer layer and the inner layers. So the approach, the research problem is the first thing, which points us to what approach we're going to use. The research problem dictates to us how we intend to approach this problem. So for example, the action research paper, it demonstrates that the previous research had been very quantitative in nature, but there were new concepts that hadn't yet been identified, explored. So it dictated that this needed to be a qualitative approach, an inductive approach. Okay. The other paper on the hedonic experience was basically trying to measure levels of pleasure. And I think the previous papers, that particular article pointed out that previous research had simply pointed out that there was pleasure in using these technologies, but it didn't measure how much. And for them, they wanted to measure how much, to quantify the pleasure, that it can actually cause distraction. Yeah, that the pleasure was so much that it could actually cause distraction. And therefore, they could then make a claim, say, oh, do not text while driving, for example, because it causes this amount of pleasure. So just to point out, for me, my hope was for you to see, to appreciate the different forms of research, and to not just, first of all, to identify the different concepts of research. That's one. Two, to appreciate, the approaches, not just to identify them, but to appreciate them. And therefore, when you come to your own research, you also bring the same appreciation, that we move away from what we did at undergraduate level and come to a higher level. It was good what we did at undergraduate level, but we now want to move to a higher level. I hope I communicate something. I hope I'm communicating something there.
Yes, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay. So do we have any other comment or question?
Maybe to bring to your attention, Doctor,
Yes.
that on this call we have our own Isaac, who just joined us a few days back.
Okay.
And he's not part of any of the submissions that. And I know this is going to be awarded.
Okay. So Isaac, what do we do?
Doctor, the other time we had agreed that those that are just joining, since we had already submitted, that maybe we could add them to any of the groups.
Yes. I remember there was even a gentleman who appeared in the Saturday lectures. He had a weird name. Okay, not weird. It was a new name to me that may not be weird to him, but it was Zatum, something?
Zatim.
Yes, there was a team. So Isaac and any other new person, if those two could combine and submit something. Zatim didn't come today, did he?
I don't see him on the call.
I'm not seeing him.
Yeah.
If the team is on the WhatsApp group, Dennis, if you could join him to Isaac and they submit something.
Okay. I'm going to.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes.
Doctor, there's a question in the
Doctor,
chat.
kindly talk about what is included in the concept paper so that we know what we should do.
I will give
as
you
time
that.
comes.
Don't worry. Remember, you're going to do a group assignment, which is a concept paper. So that will be your first guidance, and I'll give you a full guideline of that.
Doctor, someone is asking, shall we be able to see our marks of this presentation?
Yes, you will.
Okay.
I hope to. Let me see if I can do it this weekend. But Isaac and the team, if also you could submit yours, then also your mark will be there.
Then, Doctor.
Yes, please.
Doctor, I am specifically interested in that research, that article that we did our coursework.
Yes.
The last question was talking about the research methods and the approach. I confused it a little. I thought that triangulation methods were also going to work in for this as a methodology.
Now there is one thing, Winfred. There is the research method they use, then the research method you want to use. Those are two different things. What they actually used and what you want to use.
Noted, madam.
So do we have any other question or comment? If no, can I leave you for the weekend?